Hello everyone. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about lessons from the graveyard. Things you can learn from the graveyard and things you can do. Next on Papa Swag's words of wisdom and encouragement. Hello everyone. Welcome to Papa Swag TV. My name is John Papa Swag Munsey. And on this channel, we talk about life, the challenges that come with life, and how to overcome those challenges. If that's something that sounds interesting to you, hit that red button and subscribe to the channel. Now on to the video. So, this week we're talking about lessons from the graveyard. And with Halloween coming up in a few weeks, I thought this would be an appropriate time to talk about some of the lessons that I learned from the graveyard. But before I go into some of the lessons, I want to talk about a story back from my college days. When you're in college, you do a lot of stupid things. And maybe the dumbest thing I ever did or was a part of, not by my choice, but I kind of got roped into this, is I was on a double date with somebody that was not my wife. I was with another girl and with another friend and his date. And what happened is, on this particular night, they decided to drive to a cemetery. Why they decided to drive to a cemetery, I don't know, but we ended up at a cemetery. And when we got there, it was dark, it was nighttime, we got out, and this is all I can remember from it, and we walked around the cemetery for a few minutes till we saw somebody, to the best of my recollection, to the best of my memory, we saw people with shovels and they started chasing us and yelling at us, and we ran as fast as we could back to the car to try to escape. We never got caught. Don't know who was chasing us, but I was thinking about that story and it reminded me and it made me think, what are some lessons you can learn from the graveyard or from the cemetery? So the first lesson is don't go running around in cemeteries late at night or when it's dark out, or you might get in a lot of trouble. And so I was thinking about three things that I learned from the cemetery, three things you can learn from the cemetery. The first thing that you can learn from the cemetery or from the graveyard is your family history. So a couple of weeks ago or a couple months ago, or maybe it was a year ago, I don't know, I Googled my last name, Munsey, M-U-E-N-Z-E. And most of you don't know this because I haven't talked about it, but my father was actually born in Wheeling, West Virginia. And so I Googled the last name Munsey and I found information about my great-grandfather. And it showed a cemetery plaque, and on that cemetery plaque, it also showed his two wives. He had his first wife had two children. One would have been my grandfather, and another, and then his first wife died at a very young age, and then he married another woman who would have been my step great grandmother. So my great grandfather was buried in Wheeling, West Virginia, and by looking in the cemetery, I found out that he had married two women who had multiple children. I didn't go to see the children or what the family tree is with the children. I do know that eventually my grandfather followed my grandmother to Dundalk, Maryland. That's all I can tell you. But if you Google a little bit about your family, you might find some information about your family history by Googling that last name. So the first thing you can do is you can learn a little bit about your family history from the cemetery. The second thing you can learn from the cemetery is you can be reminded of some fantastic memories. Every time I go back to Baltimore, Maryland, I go to my dad's cemetery plot, and I'm reminded of some of the great memories I had with my father. And I encourage you as well, if you have lost, most of the people watching this, you probably have loved ones that you've lost, and you might take time to visit the site where they're buried at. Make sure it's clean or whatever you might want to do. And I've done this with, I really would like to go see my Aunt Rose's cemetery plot, but every time I go, I think of all the great stories, all the great things that these people have done, the great memories, the great influences they had on my life. And that's what, even though we are still living and this channel is all about life, those that have gone before us have done some great things and have had a great impact on our lives. It's great to go to the cemetery, to the graveyard, and remember those that have had a great impact on our lives, that are no longer with us and have had a great influence. And so the second thing you can learn at the graveyard is to remember the great people that have influenced your life, those great memories. The third thing you can learn from the cemetery, learn from the graveyard, is a personal thing, something that I always like to do. In our lives, there's things that have happened in our past that may have been hurtful, or maybe we made some mistakes. And the graveyards are a great reminder that those things that are in the past need to be buried there. Those things that have been hurtful, we need to bury those things. We need to destroy those things that have had a poor impact on us. I'll never forget, my wife hates this story, but it's a true story. And it's a very painful story I'm about to share, so I don't say this to make you cry. I don't say this for any reason except for the fact that the more I talk about it, the more I'm healed about it, the more I'm putting it into the cemetery of life, what I call the graveyard of the past, things that need to be buried there. So I was in the 5th grade, and one of the things I have terrible handwriting. And so I had turned in a paper, and it was in pencil, and it was smeared. And so I'll never forget this as long as I live. But like I said, the more I share, the more the healing takes place. So I had turned it in, and my 5th grade teacher gave it back to me, and she pulled my hair in front of other kids in the class and told me never to do it again. I can just remember and see her pulling my hair, or feeling her pulling my hair, making me cry as a 10-year-old boy in front of my entire class. That particular thing that happened made me fearful of people in authority, that they were always going to try to find out the bad things about me. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this channel, is to encourage people that there's good people in this world. There's great things that can happen. But that was a very dreadful and impactful thing that happened to me. And so every time I talk about that, that's another nail in the coffin of that particular story. So when I think about the graveyard, think about the lessons from the graveyard. One of the things that the graveyard reminds us, it's a place to the mistakes that we've made, the hurtful things that have been done to us. That's a place that we can destroy it and bury it and kill it and put it in the past and move forward. The Bible has the Apostle Paul made a great statement in the book of Philippians. Philippians 3 verses 13 and 14, and I'm going to paraphrase this, so I'm probably not getting it right, but he said something like this: forget those things which are behind, but press on to the high mark which we are called to in the person of Jesus Christ. So I want to remind you today, so that there's 3 things that we can learn from the cemetery or the graveyard. Let me go ahead and recap this real quick for you. So real quick, here in the recap, 3 things we can learn from the graveyard. Number 1 is you can learn a lot about your family history from the graveyard. Number 2, the great memories, the great influences on your life, the great people that when you go back to the graveyard and you visit their grave sites, it's a great place to go and remember the impact they had on your life. And then number 3 is that's a place where you're reminded to bury your past, those things where you made mistakes and those hurtful things. That's a place where you want to go ahead and as a reminder, every time you go there, remind yourself, these are the places where I want to put those hurtful things and those mistakes that I made and move forward to a new adventure. So I want to thank you again for watching Papa Swag TV. If this is the first time you're watching and you enjoyed today's video, I want to encourage you to hit that red button and subscribe to the channel. Also hit that bell to be notified every time we upload a new video. We're uploading a new video every Friday at around 5:30 a.m., 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to welcome all the new subscribers to the channel. We're having a good time doing these videos. And if you would like to connect with me on social media, I'm at Papa Swag TV on Twitter and Instagram. I have a Tumblr, husbandandfather.tumblr.com, as well as I have a Facebook page called Papa Swag TV, which, like I said in an earlier video, I'm still working on that page. I've been very inconsistent with it, but I'll be, hopefully in the next week or 2, I'll be getting that more consistent. And thank you for watching again. Remember, be encouraged. You were created to do great things, and I'm here cheering you on. Till the next video, have a great day.